if this product, if this service was a success or a failure. You got all the haters today saying this thing was a failure. Looking ahead to 2020, one reason why I'm taking you seriously as a contender is because of your presence on cable news. Jeff Zucker's departure was shocking to the staff of CNN. We lost our leader this week, but we're not going anywhere.
Control Z on that one. CNN is saying so long to host Brian Stelter and canceling his show, Reliable Sources.
Joe Concha joins us now. Joe, what do you think about this?
Well, first off, I had to be sewn into my pants today after a cheeseburger and bourbon-filled vacation, so I could relate certainly to that whole process. Look, Brian Stelter, he sealed his own fate when he decided, with the hubris to end all hubris, to attack a very important person at Discovery. What's Discovery? That's the company who took over CNN. Here's what he had to say earlier this year. Quote, "The people who say the Zucker-era CNN was lacking in real journalism clearly were not watching CNN directly. And yes, I'm including John Malone in all of this." Well, who's John Malone? He's Discovery's largest shareholder and one of the most powerful people in Stelter's incoming orbit. So yeah, let's insult him out in the open in the usual condescending fashion and expect to keep a job where he got half the ratings of Media Buzz that's with Howie Kurtz in the same time slot on this network. And the irony here, Carly, Todd, is that as a media reporter, as a media analyst, you're supposed to call out media bias where it exists or media activists where they exist. And instead, Brian Stelter did more to hurt the image of this industry and his network than most people you could think of. His program, his newsletter existed almost solely to obsess about Fox News, often in a very dishonest manner. So, you got to look at it as Jeff Zucker gets the boot, and therefore Brian Stelter, as his chief hitman, had no real role left at that network under this new regime run by Discovery.
Yeah, you'd think that as somebody whose job is media, he'd be able to read the tea leaves on the Discover purchase and, I don't know, maybe not call out his future boss or no longer boss. Kind of a bold strategy, Cotton. Yeah. Is this the end of the woke leftist? Yeah. Is this the end of the woke leftist push at CNN? Do you believe that?
Well, you judge people by their actions at this point, right? And the fact that, in the same week, basically, you have Brian Stelter, who was gone, who you could argue was the most partisan person on there, but also Jeffrey Toobin as well. I guess he's going to take some time to get to know himself a little bit more. He's gone as well. So, that's two very big personalities on that network that are no longer there. So perhaps these are moves to go back to the center. But there's still a lot of work to do if you watch CNN on a regular basis. Still not this old CNN that we grew up with, certainly.
Well, Brian Stelter released a statement saying, "I'm grateful for my 9 years with CNN, proud of what we've accomplished on Reliable Sources, and so thankful for the viewers who tuned in every week for our examination of the media, truth, and the stories that shape our world. It was a rare privilege to lead a weekly show focused on the press at a time when it has never been more consequential. I'll have more to say on Sunday," which will be his last show. Joe, there's also this from the Washington Post. Fact checker Glenn Kessler is criticizing Republicans for worrying about the expanding IRS. And he said the GOP is preying on people's fears of an audit, which is practically nil, and 80% of which are just an exchange of letters. The stated goal is cracking down on well-heeled tax cheats, not ordinary Americans, to close a tax gap estimated at $381 billion a year. But the fact remains the IRS is going to be auditing more people to pay for the Inflation Reduction Act. That's the whole purpose of giving them $80 billion more dollars.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he didn't use, Glenn Kessler he said preying on people's fears, didn't say seize or pounce. That's usually the more common words that are used in these situations. But yeah, the IRS is being expanded in a significant way, a way that we have not seen in our lifetimes. And no one has ever said that, yay, I want to see more IRS in our lives. The bottom line is that when you look at nonpartisan analysis, and Glenn Kessler is anything but nonpartisan, people that make less than $400,000, people in the middle class, the lower class, they will be targeted the most under this new IRS. And I just have this strange feeling this is going to backfire on the Democratic Party, who thinks this is actually a good idea, hiring all these new IRS agents and doing all these new audits.
Kessler's considered a fact checker. When you hear the word fact checker at this point, it does mean Biden apologist. When you hear Joe Concha, you think media excellence. Joe Concha, thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.